This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the PC Muscle Race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
Hey, what's poppin'?
LeRon, you sound a lot better today in your microphone.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, just saying. Throwing it out.
I really don't know sometimes, you know, like even though my primary job is in real life is IT, like I swear sometimes like things are never right, and I hate to admit that because then everybody's gonna be on like, oh, like what's up, IT guy? Is he can't get his own shit straight.
Well, I had to do a sound check today with somebody who was like, he was wearing the wired earbuds and had that little microphone patch on his earbuds, and he was wearing a collared shirt, and it kept.
So
like,
every time it scraped.
Every time he like moved his shoulders, and he was very like using his hands to talk on the podcast today, and like every time he talked in the production chat, I was like, "Stop! You gotta stop moving your hands. You need to re-say that." It was, man.
It was like Michelle Yeoh's acceptance speech for one of her awards. It wasn't on the for the Oscars. It was one of the other shows. I want to say it was not the Golden Globes. No, I can't remember. But one of
the other 900 award shows nobody watches.
Well, yeah. Well, she was wearing like a really froofy dress that had like this frilly collar, and it was rubbing against the microphone every time she talked.
Sure. Yeah. Also joining us is the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
Hi. I had come up with a very clever intro, and then I forget. Hi.
Oh, that's fair. Are you wearing one of our hoodies?
Boss Rush Podcast. Yeah. I don't know why I picked red. It's not the best with the rainbow colors, but I just have so much black and blue shirts and sweatshirts. I needed an obnoxiously bright color.
I know. It's fine. But yeah, red should not be an option for anything. Red's
awesome color.
You know what?
Quiet.
You know what color is great? Blue. You know who
Yes.
uses blue in their logo? Our guests from Crit Rate. We have two very special guests tonight from Crit Rate, the service that Stephanie got to check out at PAX, actually.
And I wouldn't shut up about it. Sorry.
We talked about it, and if you were listening a couple weeks ago, LeRon, Grayson, and I all took the test live on the episode. So I want to welcome Justin Chou and Justin Scerbo to the show. Hello, guys.
How's it going?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome. I like seeing new and unique services come out. It's not very often that you see something like as kind of I would say innovative as this. There's all these services out there that pretend to kind of choose things for you and stuff, but this seems to really have, you guys really have a goal with this. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about Crit Rate and how you guys started and like what you're aiming to do with this long term?
Well, I'm more than happy to start with that, but I will also say that my favorite color is red. So red is a great color, Steph. Good choice.
Yeah.
But with that said, too, I didn't know that you guys also took the test on your last episode. I'm definitely interested in watching that. Man, I'm in the same camp as you, and Justin is as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that come out in the video gaming industry, especially for like user-centric things, not necessarily just industry-centric things, or building out like new games and developing things for specific audiences. But like in our case, like a lot of the things that we've started, like we started in video games journalism, and then we started understanding a little bit more behind like, you know, the industry and where people are going and what we're starting to see. And like, that's kind of what the culmination of Crit Rate is. So for everybody on the stream that's listening, just a quick, like, I guess, description of what we do, right? So Crit Rate is in fact a service. And the idea is essentially to give you video game recommendations based off of your video game personality, right? So you take a personality test similar to like a Myers-Briggs, and we break down kind of why and how you like to play and how you like to enjoy games, not necessarily what you like to enjoy, right? Because what we've learned, especially in the experiences that we've had in the past like 30 some odd years of our life playing video games, is that everybody plays the same game potentially differently, right? Well, what are those differences and why are we playing? And that's what we want to get to the heart of. And then the question is whether or not we can make those learnings useful for us going into the future of how to pick games. And that's more or less where the crit rate, philosophy comes from.
That's cool. Justin, what about you? What do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, so I mean, we're absolutely thrilled. First off, thank you so much for having us on. We're absolutely stoked to be here. Crit rate's honestly just been the genesis of a lot of thinking and sort of experience in the games industry. Justin and I, previous to this, we worked in a media capacity as well. We were running our own site called the Zero Review. This was many years ago, and then through that process, we were like, we really love the idea and seeing how people were binding personality to their game recommendations. We saw a lot of people gravitating towards like YouTube and Twitch and all these kinds of things, and finding that the value that they were getting in game recommendations was always higher when it was coming from an individual person. So when we were thinking about this, we're like, man, it would be really cool if there was a way to kind of like scale that up, right? And almost find many people that could be like you. And wouldn't that be an even better recommendation if you got, the cumulative opinions of many? And that's sort of the genesis of where the crit rate idea came from. Originally, it was almost designed to be sort of like a dating site where you would be matched with other like gamers, almost like a friend finder, where you would find other people that shared similar tastes as you. And then ultimately it got sculpted into this recommendation engine that we're just so stoked to see kind of like begin to blossom. And we met Stephanie at PAX East, and that's where we got to launch it for the first time formally and bring it out to a big audience. And the response that we've been getting so far has just been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
there's actually, just to go off of the back of what you're saying, Justin, like that dating idea, right? So what we've realized about like we were at the age, I guess, of dating when like dating websites and services started coming out. And like the big thing that we started trying to tie together was this idea of like what Justin was saying, the influencer culture, the idea behind people getting behind specific personalities. You start to realize that people are starting to relate behind a specific person, editor, content creator, whatever have you, right? Well, what if there was a way to kind of delineate in kind of like a dating service aspect, like what influencer content creator is most like you, so that you can start learning from what they're going through and then garnering those kind of like those kind of learnings, right? In our case, we started seeing things like on dating websites where it was like, hey, so you put in a profile and these X amount of people are 90 to 95% compatible with you.
Like
what compatible
or similar.
Right, exactly. So then we were like, well, what are the chances you can do this? But what if the goal wasn't to date each other? What if the goal was to get recommendations from one another? And that's really where it comes from, right? It's a relatability aspect of everything. It's like, how relatable am I in with a group of people? And then if those people are sitting down with me at, say, a lunch table, which we actually call the lunch table philosophy, but like you sit down at a lunch table, like at recess at school, and we start gabbing about video games. Like, what are we all talking about? And like, if I knew that the 10 people at my lunch table were talking to me in regards to, hey, so I love video games in the same way you do, and this is all the games that I'm playing right now. So like, maybe it's interesting to you. All of that information seems way more valuable to me than, say, if I sat down with 10 strangers and I knew nothing about them, right? So if we can agree that those two scenarios are very different, then that's where crit rate more or less comes from.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. That's super cool. This is a great idea. as someone who kind of, so I work for a enterprise IT marketing company, and we see stuff that tries to emulate stuff like this come from companies, and it just doesn't work. And like I'm not gonna lie, my initial reaction was like, is this really gonna work? Like, is it gonna suggest games? And like initially, like it showed me a few games. I'm like, I don't know if I would really play this. But then like after I took the test, I was like, I really studied on the games that it was offering and like who was playing it, and like I saw games like Zelda, obviously, and like I'm gonna pull up my results
Probably
right now.
like
Actually,
God of War, for instance. You know,
yeah, God of War's on here. Solar Ash is on here. The Horizon VR game is on here, which I'm not really that interested in VR, but I love Horizon. Plague Tale Requiem is something that's always been suggested to me as something that I would probably like if I gave it a shot. So like I think you guys really have something here that's not just a bunch of, automated BS, because you linked
yes,
it like uh because one of the things that kind of surprised me as I was like finishing my profile was like, what if you guys like allowed us to sign in with our Xbox Live account or PSN account, or at least link it somehow? And I don't know if that's just like you have
Yeah.
to get permission from Microsoft or Sony to do that, or Nintendo, or
we looked
if
into
that's
it. You
just,
do.
Yeah, no. So it's actually really awesome that you say that. There are so many different directions that we're trying to develop the site in, and one of the core things that we wanted to, or that we're looking to add long term, is that sort of integration with your profile, so we can get a better read of like what you're actually playing and how that links up to the games that you're going to be recommended and things like that. So that it's awesome to hear that you were kind of like jiving with the results that you were getting. And we've only really just started the development of the site, and there's as we continue to roll out features and get more data as people come into the website and see recommendations come up, it's really going to help shape that final product. And really what we're hoping to do is drive all of this towards creating really cool communities that are able to kind of bounce these types of things off of each other, find better games, start conversations around games, all this kind of stuff. So it's just the beginning of something really cool.
And it's funny that you mentioned that from the IT angle, right? Everything in almost all industries are trying to become more automated, right? And that automation, you lose a lot of flavor in those kind of reviews and recommendations, right? So like what we're seeing, like let's talk about even like a Netflix, for instance, right? Or even a YouTube algorithm. You take it out of the users and the humans' hands, and you start basing it off of like tags, essentially, right? Tags and click-through rates and activity and engagement. And then you start to create like these ideas of like, okay, well, people must like this because of X, Y, and Z, right? And one of the things that crit rate is, and like what we tried to do at PAX, like the experiment, and by and large, this is a big experiment. This has all been an experiment that Justin and I have been working on for the past 8 years with some of our friends. And like the experiment is starting to prove a few things, one of which, and probably the biggest one, is a lot of the things that we're leaning on nowadays is losing a lot of the human input, right? And so like what we're trying to do now is try to mix the two. We're trying to take the algorithmic kind of like understandings, but then apply it back to people so that it empowers people to give recommendations rather than just, hey, I come to a website and like because of the games that I've played previously, a robot is telling me that I should play X, Y, and Z, right? Versus, hey, well, what about the people behind the games that they play? Like, not all game is made equal, and not all player is made equal. So, shouldn't we be focusing more on the differences between each of us, and then talking to those differences rather than trying to put us all in a single bag? And that's kind of like where our idea of splitting these hairs come from, right? So that's where the houses essentially come from. Is like, well, at first you take a test and then you get put into one of our 5 gaming houses. And then from there, we basically put you into a room full of people that have a general sense of what kind of games that they like. And then the big experiment that proved successful at PAX was every house had different top 5 games at PAX at the show, which just means that everybody likes games differently depending on how you like to play games. So if that's the case, then how do we harness that energy and make it more useful for us so that so that the tool itself not only like hones itself to become more accurate, but it becomes more fun, it becomes more accessible, and most importantly, it becomes more useful to us.
I'm glad you mentioned the houses because I'll admit that's kind of what initially caught my eye because everyone like gets hooked by something, and it's far from a gimmick, but like it. I just know that there are plenty of people like myself that love the Meyer Briggs type thing, or
Guilty pleasure for sure.
yeah, or even like the houses, like for example, like oh, I'm Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's just something
Absolutely.
relatable to it. And I gotta say, for those that have not yet heard me blab about it before, but you should check out their website because the designs are great. Like it's easy on the eye. So the five houses: Vantigist, Carrionaut, Ascendiary, Galabander, and Bravadier. They all have very cool um like logo designs. I have my pin, I have my shirt. So
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh,
You're
that's
killing
awesome. You're making Justin's day right now.
Yeah,
Justin did all the
literally.
designs for the houses. But that's really awesome to hear you say, because that was a big part of this as well, was kind of creating a sort of central point for this camaraderie, right? As we started to see how people's trait scores were shaping up, and they kind of categorized into these different houses, it was really fun to be able to shape the personalities around those houses, and or rather the terminology around those houses, and really kind of shape the way that we can describe them, as far as like, ascendiaries are more completion driven gamers, and how Carrionauts are more into story and creativity. It was just a excuse me, a really fun experiment or a really fun exercise to really kind of shape those houses and find our identities within them, because much of our team, right, we have so Justin is a Galbander, I'm an incendiary, and then two of our other co-hosts on our podcast, they're both Vantagists, and it's so cool to meet other people, especially when we were at PAX, and see how people fell into their houses and find a lot of relatability amongst the types of recommendations they were getting and how the houses describe them. It's just really reassuring and heartening to see that resonate with people.
And you know what else I just thought of super quick? I know that there's a lot of almost like tribalism in the video game industry, kind of like in sports, where
No.
oh, yeah, I know, right? Shocker. In a sense, this kind of creates that same thing, but in a more positive light. Like it's definitely a more
Yes.
positive environment, but still have that tribalism type like camaraderie. Like, yay, Carrionauts, the superior
Because
house.
I am so happy you said that, because like when Justin and I were also like working through how we were going to do this, it was like we were worried at first whether or not the delineations would create more of a divide. But little did we know when we started actually taking this show kind of like and testing it out at different shows. PAX was the official first launch, right? But throughout the year prior to, we were taking it on small little like retro game shows and a lot of different like little get-togethers and stuff, and having people take it, friends of our own and families of our own. And we started to realize that it wasn't dividing, rather it was like binding people closer together. It was like basically saying your opinions are valid regardless of what kind of gamer you think you are. And even if the person next to you isn't anywhere close to what you think and you guys are having a dispute, you both are right. You know what I mean? You're both correct, because nobody's opinions are, or rather, nobody's sensibilities and values based off of how we enjoy video games are right. Everything is technically correct. There's no wrong or right, you know?
Yeah, it's also a good conversation piece too. Like if you get a bunch of people to take it, and you're like, "Oh, what house did you get?" Like that was basically a whole half hour of our
Yes.
podcast. We're answering these questions. Oh, what house did you get? What games are in your house? Our houses are different. Like
Yeah.
it's really fascinating, and like I imagine as more people sign up for this and take the tests and get sorted into houses, that the game recommendations will become more accurate as you gain more data from people, right? Like I'm assuming.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's really cool, because we saw this phenomenon that you're describing happening in real time at PAX, where people would take the test and come up and be like, "Hey, I got this house," and like you would see these sort of these waves of people that would come, where like you would have two friends come up and they're both Bravadiers, and it's like it totally makes sense, because like they're just that type of gamer, and they're kind of in a group together, so it's like it was cool to see those things. And when I saw other incendiaries, there's almost this instant like, I understand you and you understand me, you know, and that kind of feeling was very cool to see. And then in regards to the data getting better on the site, you're absolutely right. I mean, as more and more users start to come in, it's going to continue to not only provide more ratings for a more deep variety of games, but also just kind of give that extra layer of, I don't know, like you're going to start to see those numbers start to hone in a certain direction, and that's all going to be based on, you know, how those games are trending within certain houses.
Actually, I was going to say, do you mind if I just provide examples of some? Because now we have the PAX results, right? Of everything
Oh
that you
yeah.
gain, like what's curated of the games of PAX given your house. And, Corey, pay attention because you're a Curionaut too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just I'm not going to read the
Yes.
whole list, but like I'm pretty happy with what I've seen, and I'll be able to put in some ratings soon. But Strayed Lights, the Cult of the Lamb DLC, Behind the Frame, Strange Horticulture. I was eyeing that game pretty hard when I was at PAX. Turnip Boy robs a bank. There's one or two more that I wanted to mention. Backpack Hero and Mina the Hollower.
Yep.
Corey Varney Lake
Love.
from and so on and so forth. So I'm looking at these games. I'm like, yeah, yep, 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 yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, man, and a part of the thing that Justin and I were also considering is like we take the high scores of each of the houses. So something that we learned at PAX, right, was there is a lot of interest and intrigue around the differences between all of the houses, not just what you guys agree on. So one of the things that we're also trying to play around with and like starting to concept different types of ways of like creating the UI and the UX kind of to output a specific result is, I mean, Steph, you were there. So like you saw the high scoreboard at our booth, right? The
Yep.
top 5 games in each house. One of the biggest things that people were doing was like taking pictures of that entire board and then going around and then seeing what did the Bravadeers like the most? What did the Curionauts like the most? What did the Ascendaries like the most? And so now we're starting to think, okay, so instead of segregating everybody separately into each individual houses, where that also definitely has its value and its merits, but there is another level of intrigue where it's like, well, what are the chances we should show how the other houses are interacting on the same game and like whether or not that would be useful. So now it comes down to like, again, it's all an experiment. It's like, where are people, what do people want and how can we provide that, you know?
Yeah, this is great. I wish I would have been at PAX, but I'm really interested to see like, so here's a question I actually have for maybe like a year or two down the road. Are you going to be able to allow people to, because a lot of people that are taking it now are kind of like, buying into the idea. Are you going to allow people to retake the test at some point?
Yeah. So the answer to that is 100% yes. So we have a couple of waves of updates that we're looking to make over the course of the next few months, right? And within those projected plans, one of the main efforts that we're going to try to undertake, this is an exclusive, so you guys can have this one, is
exclusive.
it's going to be the ability to, there's going to be a big push for cross-house pollination. And what we basically mean by that is you'll be able to go into any game and see the ratings for all of the different houses, like within that page. But then this will also enable you to go in, retake the test, or potentially just choose another house to go into if you feel like your alignment's closer to that. Because while we want everyone to take the test and go through that process and see where it seats you, and we're very confident that that's going to place you in the correct house, if for whatever reason you feel like it's not aligned to where you got, you should absolutely have the ability to switch over. And that's been not only something that I'm glad you asked right here, but while we were at PAX, and then also people have been really, really cool and reached out to our contact us form, and they're sending suggestions about different features that they want on the site. And that one has been mentioned a couple of times. So we are working hard to make that possible for everybody. And if anyone else has any, we're not at pitches yet, but if anyone else has any recommendations for features, you can hit us up at critrate.io and hit our contact us form and let us know.
There's definitely a few things. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, because like sometimes people, especially I just look at my own gaming life now. Granted, certain types of gaming weren't around when I was younger, but like my gaming tastes have changed over the last 25 to 30 years, right? And so like I want to know if like, oh well, can I retake the test in say 5 years because maybe my gaming tastes will have changed by then, or maybe like, okay, well, what if Destiny, for example, goes away in 5 years and
And what are
Destiny's
we gonna
really
do?
I know. We're going to have bigger problems than that. But like, you know, Destiny is really the only multiplayer game that I really play.
Mhm.
And, I some of my choices were made based on Destiny. Like, what do you play multiplayer games for? And it's like is the social aspect or whatever. Because I play with
Mhm.
my friends, and we don't like play competitively or anything. We just hang out, talk, run some strikes. Maybe we'll do a raid or two during the course of a season, and like, we're not like hardcore grinding for god roll weapons or trying to masterwork every single piece of armor that we have, right? We're just trying to play and have fun and hang out because my one friend lives an hour away and my other friend lives 3 states over, and we just this is the only way we get to communicate. And it's a lot of times I'm finding myself playing Destiny by myself actually, and it's kind of nice. But
Mm.
uh if
That's fair
that
too.
aspect if that aspect goes away, like that question is going to change for me, and I
Totally.
just that was just something that not that I like, okay, a month from now do I want to retake the test? No, I'm fine. But like, as my kids get older and I don't have enough time to play these huge RPGs, and my gaming tastes are going to change, or priorities are going to change, and that's going to be you know so
I think I
what I
think
need
you're
to say.
right. I mean, one of the most important pieces is that priorities change and humans change over time, right? So having a service that actually evolves with the player is something that we absolutely want to build into. One of the things that we're playing around with, like when you're talking about the idea of like switching houses and stuff, like the houses, like those have been created by us through data points that we've collected over the experiment over the past like 7 years in the 8 years of like working on it, right? Or even 6 years, technically it was 6 years. At the point where we got a bunch of data points, let me tell you, it was just a bunch of data points that we had no idea necessarily how to like extrapolate any type of results. And only over the course of a couple of months of us like poking and prodding and learning statistical analysis and talking with people who actually understand data sciences and stuff like that, did we start to recognize similarities and clustering, right? And that's what it is. And like, I guess in the psychology terms, it is the clustering of these traits. So like the houses themselves, not rigid, not inflexible. In fact, the definitions of each of the houses, they can absolutely change over a course of time. What's most important is that you take the test as accurately to your current self as possible, and then you agree with the gamer traits at the end of it, right? The houses are more or less just the houses, very powerful pieces, right? The houses are to help us like put ourselves together with other people like ourselves, right? And it's all based off of like a ton of math in the background, but like that will, and I can only imagine when we start getting more and more people in, those definitions of each of the houses will change, and those stats behind each of those like exemplar pieces will change. But the person that we and the people that we are will change. But the most important part is that you relate to your individual gamer traits, and those gamer traits are the 7 different gamer traits that make up a player in our eyes, right? And once those are set, then technically you just kind of let the website do its thing, and then you can get more accurate representations of yourself based off of others that follow in the same gamer traits, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That's man,
Thanks, man.
that's you guys have I really think you guys have a great thing.
Yes.
I'm not just saying that because you guys are here. I'm really thinking like this is really cool. As someone who sees a lot of automation for automation's sake based on my
Yeah.
job, like it's like I I like the idea of automation and moderation, and
Yes.
it's never going to simulate the human side of things, no matter how hard you try, right? And so,
And
um,
even if it does, it won't feel the same. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I do really appreciate you saying that. But like at the end of it, like this experiment, and I'm so glad that so many people are also into it, it will take like a village. It's going to be a whole group of people telling us what makes sense and what doesn't make sense for the betterment of creating a tool that we can all like share and use and enjoy. And I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see its evolution over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, see what happens. We have a couple questions, and we have some Discord results. So I'm going to go into our Discord real quick and pull up the
I'm going to go
the
look cuz
results
I
in
haven't checked it since
Yeah. It's funny because some people are like, I feel like a lot of us are falling into Curionaut, and then some people were a Galabander, and people were just kind of posting their results. And so it's just funny to see them start posting things, and people being like, I wasn't in that house, and see, Curionaut, Galabander. It seems like we have a little bit of everything in our Discord.
Okay, our friend's first Galabander. Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Curionauts we've recognized.
Yeah.
And Galabanders for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I especially think maybe I don't know, the hardcore people who like to experiment with a lot of different games probably fall into that.
Yeah,
Had
it's-
spelled LeRon's name wrong. LeRon, what are you, Ascendiary?
Yeah, incendiary.
Yeah.
two of a kind, my man. I'm right there with you.
So Wadaberry via Discord, they ask, this is very fascinating. Where did you guys come up with the questions and the house categories to sort people into? And what have you learned most about yourselves doing this exercise?
I can definitely answer
Yeah,
that,
go
Justin,
for it.
if you don't mind. So when Justin and I and one of our third partners too, Alex, when we were going through the makeup of a gamer, right? We were pulling off of a lot of studies that actually have been put forth years and years and years ago, right? That includes things like the Bartle's taxonomy and like the MMO games and how people play there. It also breaks down into like the Myers-Briggs and like their processes, and to breaking down the core traits of a person's personality. And from many different tests and many different like studies, we started recognizing, well, the first thing is the questions come from the traits, right? So first and foremost, it's design or rather understand what makes up a gamer, and then ask questions based off of those key criteria, right? So the key criteria that we've come up with, 7 of them, right, are competitiveness, how many players you usually like to play with, the challenge that you like to overcome, and how much challenge are you willing to take on, the creativity aspect of how do you approach specific processes, right? And like problem solving, your strategy involved. Do you like going in, with a plan, or do you like being more spontaneous with your actions, right? Game pace is another one, which is like how fast do you like to, how do you like to progress through the game? Do you like to progress through the game on your own terms, or do you like the game to push you in progression? And then the final one is immersion, which is how do you enjoy getting immersed? Do you enjoy getting immersed through the button presses and the feelings of the game through the actions that you're taking, or do you like to get immersed through the storyline? And then in each of these 7 criterias, which I know that was a lot already, it's a spectrum, right? Far left is one and far right is another. So like nobody is, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people aren't an extreme of one versus the other. So for instance, let's take competitiveness for example, right? We straight up took a huge inspiration from the multiplayer of Smash Brothers, but I think it did it very well when it named it this, the 4 glory and the 4 fun categories, right? Between these two, there are games that we play for fun and there's games that we play for glory. But between these, how often, if you had, let's say, 10 hours in a day and each of these hours were playing a game individually, right? How many hours would you be spending on being competitive versus just having for fun? So everybody plays within the spectrum, and it's not necessarily one or the other. I'm not 100% competitive all the time, but when I am competitive. How often is that, So when we first discerned that there are these 7 criterias, and through each 7 criterias, there are spectrums from the left to the right, which you can actually read if you wanted to go into the website and then go under the Gamer House section. It explains all of that. But then from there, it was like, okay, what questions can we ask that will evoke a level of consideration when talking about ourselves, right? So for instance, like questions that fall into, well, do I like a game? Do I go into a next scenario using a similar, tried and true strategy, or am I willing to mix things up to see how far this game could bend, right? In the Curionauts perspective, there's a chance that there's a more of a chance, right? The creative types, there's more of a chance that they want to try other things. Like what else does the game gives you all of these options. Why would any of these options be not viable? So let's see how crazy this can get, right? Well, how crazy do you want to get? Versus say like those players who want to be a little bit more on the practical side, which is like, well, this has worked. Like let's say Fire Emblem, this strategy has worked for the past 7 battles. Why would I change now? And so between these two, these are two different players playing the same game. So the questions really are generated based off of these key criterias. And then the questions come from, okay, well, how can we go about like asking a similar question, but in a different way? And will it generate a different answer from you? And that's where those questions come from. Then the houses, okay, I know I've been talking for a minute, but the houses are all delineated from, again, the data, the points that we have from each of these houses, from each of these questions, from each of these traits. As the players start to answer the questions and as their traits start to generate like results, we take those results and then we start to like put them over one another over and over and over again until we start to see how certain results relate to certain things. So for instance, like what was fascinating is like between the Ascendiaries and the Bravadiers, right? Like both enjoy high difficult challenges, but one enjoys single player games over multiplayer games, right? So it's like, well, what do these two players value the most? It's like, well, both of them value high challenge, but both of them value the multiplayer or solo player aspects completely opposite. Should we consider these two players being the same? I don't think so. I think they deserve their own house. So this is where the houses started coming in. It's like, well, at one point, the Ascendiaries and the Bravadiers were actually one house until we were like, this doesn't make sense. Like, there's two different people here. And then we split them off into two, and then we realized, oh, wow. So there are two different types of people. And when they fall into these categories, does those categories resonate with them? If it resonates with them, then it has to be true, right? And that's essentially where the houses came from.
Yeah, a big part of this was after the initial versions of the survey went out, we would ask those people for feedback and see how they liked the results, how they liked the questions, which questions were working for them, which ones weren't. And it was really kind of a refining process that took a while, but it now has matured into what you see today. Excuse me.
So, piggybacking off of that, there's another part of this question. It wasn't really a question, but they wanted to know if you notice any geographical differences with the houses, and they aren't sure if you're tracking regions or anything like that yet. But
so right now people can kind of like opt into providing location. It's not required to take the survey, but sort of in the same realm, what we do find interesting is, like Justin said, we had sort of these micro activations for crit rate at a number of different events. And what was interesting was we started to see it kind of helped us prove out the houses in a way, because we would see the populations of some of the events that we would go to fall into certain categories. Like, for example, we went to a retro event in Philadelphia, Too Many Games, and had an activation there. And we saw a big demographic of Curionauts come up, which is pretty cool. But it was a first brush, so we weren't really sure what we were going to see. But then we brought crit rate to a Super Smash Brothers Melee super major called the Big House in Detroit. And this is obviously a tournament event where 90% of the people that were there to compete in a Smash Brothers tournament. And the segment of Bravadiers that we got at that event was ridiculous. It was like more than 80% were all Bravadiers, and it was like, whoa, like there's like a big swing in the opposite direction. Yeah. So it was like, so we saw this really awesome swing that kind of helped reassure us that like, okay, these demographics make sense. And obviously after each event we would ask people like in real time, like, does this result make sense for you? Does this feel like it's the right thing? And we got a lot of positive reassurance there. So I'm not sure if that necessarily answers the geographic question, but the demographic question I think is pretty, it was encouraging to see that. And as we bring Crit Rate to other events and other locations, we're excited to see what we see there. Like, we have a suspicion that if we were to bring this to, say, a speedrunning event like a GDQ or something like that, we believe that we'd see a wider group of like ascendiaries there, because these are highly competitive people that are challenging their own times and all this kind of stuff. So it would be cool
they
to
like
see
single
that.
player aspects of it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because like, I mean, Stephanie, when we were talking, it was like, yeah, we have a lot of Curionauts and Galabanders at PAX, but like, what are the chances that Curionauts and Galabanders just are the ones that show up to general video game conventions?
Yeah.
Where are the ascendiaries?
You're,
Where
you're there
are
to
the
find,
advantages?
yeah, you're there to find new games. That's
Right.
PAX. New experiences, new people. It's like, it kind
So
of
the verdict,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So the verdict is still out to whether or not the houses themselves require an adjustment to like even out the people, because we wonder whether or not the population size that we've been coming up against so far is tilted towards one versus the other. So if we were to, again, like, I would love to show up at a GDC or a Twitch and see where those people fall in. I would love to go into an MMO and be like, hey guys who are playing MMOs, check out Crit Rate. Where do you fall? And will we find a huge group of Galabanders and Bravadeers? I'm not sure. I kind of feel like we would. But then what it really comes down to is like, all right, so are the houses actually legitimate, or are we just coming up against, a population size challenge? Right now, I think we think that it's a population size challenge, because so far all of the feedback has shown that 99, and I'm not even joking, 99% of the people who have taken the test and read through their house and read through their gamer traits agree with their results. If they
Nice.
agree with if they agree with the results, then who am I to tell them that they may be wrong and that they may be in a different house?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. That actually ties into our next question a little bit. Ice Malone 330 on Twitter writes in and asks, I think what you got is an interesting idea. Do you see it integrating into other services in the future? I think, just to kind of piggyback. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, please go for it.
I think something you brought up, Twitch, like going to Twitch. Is there any idea of like integrating your Twitch account into this, and like saying, hey, this person, and track what streamers they watch and like what games they tend to be drawn to through that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think like, so an important consideration is that we're still very early at this stage, so we don't really know all of the forms that Crit Rate is going to fall into. But that being said, we've had a lot of suggestions for integrations with things like Twitch, Discord, and then like you had mentioned earlier, connecting Steam accounts and things like that. All of these things sound like amazing ideas to us, and would be really interested to go down those pathways and see what might be possible. But just to link all of that together, a lot of the people that we met at PAX in the realm of like content creators and Twitch streamers and things like that, they all took an interest in the platform from the perspective of, well, it would be really cool to see who my followers, like what houses my followers fall into, and if we relate on that level. And they were potentially like, oh, it would be cool if we could create subgroups within Crit Rate. So like I could, so if I know that I'm a Curionaut streamer, for example, more Curionauts might want to find me, and then that way you could sort of cross promote through the platform. These are all awesome ideas and things that we are certainly interested in going down that pathway. But like I said, at this stage, we are still very early and don't have the full picture as far as how these integrations are going to take place. So it's really kind of like seeing what opportunities are in front of us and how we can best do that, because we don't really want to rush into something like half baked. We really want to make sure that each step that we take is fully thought out and is going to be ultimately a boon and a useful utility as the platform develops.
Right. And I don't really know how big your team is. I assume it's rather small, so I assume you want to like prioritize certain things over others just to make sure the service works and
For sure.
before you start adding things.
Time is for sure the most valuable resource right now. So we kind of have to like choose, like we've got very quick and successive checkpoints. It's like, okay, let's find the next hurdle and just clear that as fast as we can so we can get to the next one. And Justin and I have kind of sculpted out a fairly in-depth priority list of how we're going through these things, and we're chipping them away. And actually, if anyone's interested, definitely keep an eye. If you're a member of critrate.io, you can check your emails, and every time we launch a new update to the site, we're going to let everyone know through there. So you'll be able to see the journey as it progresses, but we're trying to shoot for, I don't know, an email a week at least, but we'll see how close to that target we can hit.
That's great. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how the service evolves, and I'm glad Stephanie brought it to our attention because it's really cool and something that I hope that we can kind of work with in the future.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks. Fault. Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. And Stephanie, you've been an absolute champion for us. Appreciate you taking such an interest in us and what we've got going on.
Yeah,
she legit has been a champion for you guys. Like, man, she's like, she was so uber excited after coming back from PAX, and Corey, would you say she talked about crit rate for a solid 2 weeks?
Stop! You're embarrassing me.
You're gonna make us blush now.
Yeah, I would say it's been brought up at least once a week since PAX ended. Let alone the various emails I've been CC'd on to try to get you guys on the show. And
anyway, what have we been playing, guys?
Yeah,
it's a killer transition.
Transition subject.
I'm actually gonna go first because again,
Corey plays games other than Destiny and Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Look. Disney Dreamlight Valley is amazing, but I've been playing. I played like 2 hours of Resident Evil 4 last night, and
awesome.
Not awesome. Okay. So I don't play.
Corey's a big old weenie.
I am. I don't play scary games. I don't play. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is not even the scary one, and I'm just like, I don't want to go up these stairs because it's too dark.
Oh man. Okay.
But we're doing it for book club, so I'm doing it. I've committed, and thank God the next 2 months are Zelda because man, I really think though that I see why people think this is one of the best games of all time. Here's the thing, I like the lore and the cheesiness of Resident Evil until it comes to actually playing the games, and I just don't want to play them because they're not even like Resident Evil 4. Most of it's not even like scary. It's just gross, like it's just like it's just dark and dirty and muddy and intentionally, obviously, but like you have like the squid things coming out of people's faces, and then the zombie dogs and like the weird like creature guys that are walking around the house.
Do you get to the regenerators yet?
The regenerators are like they're. So I really like scary games a lot. Actually,
you're literally talking about Scerbo's favorite game of all time.
Yeah, this is like top 5 for me. Not like the original in particular, but it's funny because like it's funny that you mentioned the regenerators. Nothing really bothers me about that game, but that enemy in particular, like, kind of upsets me to fight. It's like it's just an uncomfortable situation,
Yeah, I think out of all the enemies in Resident Evil 4, like the regenerators are actual like horror game enemies. Like of all of them, like that's the actual scary one, and I hate it because they look like Corino, like Dead Hand from Ocarina of Time, but just grown up in a more serious and scary version. And then when you shoot them, they like slither on the ground. And at first I thought it was like a glitch or something, and then it lunged at me and I died. So
but yeah, I think a lot of Leon's cheesy one-liners are hilarious. It's the game itself is like I realize that it's not scary, but like there's always like the one jump scare that I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like worried for an hour. I'm like, when's the next jump scare? And then there's not one. And then you forget that the jump scares exist. And then one pops up. And man. Also, the damn bear traps.
Yeah, they've been a point of contention definitely across many people who've been replaying this game now.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Corey. If I could do it,
yeah.
can do it, you can do it.
I know. I'm trying really hard to finish it.
Corey,
so
question. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big scary game fan either.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Scerbo who got me into even considering playing scary games again. But I will say one of my all-time favorites is a scary game called Dead Space. Have you played Dead Space?
No, but it's LeRon, one of LeRon's favorite games.
You got LeRon excited.
Yes, all-time favorite, like freaking like horror franchise.
Dude, it's just from the sound engineering to the progression to the mood and the atmosphere. It is a moody game, and it's like those
guys did work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They did good work. And then you have like Callisto Protocol that comes out with like you realize the differences between the two. You know what I mean?
Protocol was a solid base
hit. It made me kind of mad because like these are the people that created the original Dead Space, and it's like, where'd y'all misstep, or was it a misstep, or was there too much ambition? What's going on? You know, because like I feel like Callisto Protocol was a simpler game than Dead Space even started out being. You know,
I wonder if they knew they were going to be compared to Dead Space because of the pedigree, and they overcorrected too far the other way, and that was the problem.
Someone did mention that after the game came out, because the game came out in December, and I think right around January, as in the run up to Dead Space. Like in some of the interviews with the developers, they were saying that like they were anticipating like a lot of comparisons and stuff like that. So they were trying to do things that make it different. There are some things about Callisto Protocol that I absolutely loved. There's a couple things that I was like, I could have went back to the drawing board on this one, but but I think where I got my enjoyment from Callisto Protocol versus Dead Space, and especially Dead Space Remake, is the fact that I was like, these are not related games, and that's how I was able to derive my enjoyment of Callisto Protocol.
Yeah,
man, remember that game was tied to PUBG? Oh. Man.
Yeah,
that's a weird.
I did not know that. Wait, what?
Yeah, it was supposed to take place in the PUBG universe, like when they first announced it.
I did not. I missed that. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
what a weird spinoff.
Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at that meeting.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What if you use a frying pan?
Yeah, right. But it is interesting because like Dead Space did things very well in terms of like the atmosphere and like the setting and obviously the sound engineering and stuff like that, like the clanking above you and like this this well-made tension spike here and there, right? But it's interesting too because like you look at Dead Space and you're like, well, the real differentiator in this versus other horror games was the cut off the limbs, the mechanic, right? And so then you build your game with different weapons in order to like play towards this mechanic, and the mechanic worked out well. But then you like a Callisto Protocol and you're like, okay, so they wanted to do something similar, and they understood that there was a empty slot here in terms of unique mechanics design, right? And they're like, okay, what else could we do? Well, what if we made it more melee focused, where we have to put the player in front of the enemies to play through a horror game, but way more like up in your face. And it's like, okay, well, let's add the dodging mechanic. And that's where I think they lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
They just did it wrong.
Yeah.
However, the game was decent. I played it all the way through. It was not bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping it gets a sequel because like it needs a follow-up game to help like push that story.
I think Oh, sorry, go ahead, LeRon. Sorry.
I was about to say, just from a person that writes, like I kind of already started my own beta canon on what's going on as I was playing the game and stuff like that. So it's, but a lot of gamers, this is gonna sound so elitist. A lot of gamers don't like to write the story themselves when they play a game. They want the story to be told to them, Whereas I kind of get off on the whole like using my imagination to help fill in the gaps for some of the things because Yeah. What's up, Justin?
I've never met someone similar to me before. Like, I'm playing Final Fantasy Tactics and I'm making up stories between my cadets and stuff.
Oh man,
All right,
the
we'll talk about this later.
God.
We'll talk about this later. I'm not sure if this is
Yeah,
interesting podcast
yes.
topic, but that's fascinating. I talked about this with Justin at length, and he's like, "You're freaking crazy, dude. Like, what are you doing?"
Hey, all I'm gonna say about Final Fantasy Tactics is don't sleep on Lavian. Do not sleep on her.
Remake coming this year. Calling it.
Yeah, looking forward to
You
that.
don't know that. You don't know that.
I do know that.
You don't.
It's like heavily rumored.
I'm tired of
Dude, they put out Tactics
Ogre
Ogre Reborn. They're putting out Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions Remastered.
I see
the yarn that you're stringing right now, but don't promise me things that won't happen, okay? Because that will
exactly.
Look, it's part of the Nvidia leak, okay? And every single game on that leak has come true, including Kingdom Hearts 4, guys. Okay? Because we need another one of those.
Kingdom Hearts 4 is a no-brainer. Kingdom Hearts 4 is a no-brainer.
Because we need another one of those.
Square needs to tap whatever well they can get extra money to make like Final Fantasy 17. So that's what that's all about.
Oh,
I have a lot of opinions on what you're talking about, but I won't talk about it right now.
Well, you guys are just gonna have to come back another time.
Yeah,
we're here for it.
Other than Resident Evil 4, though, I have been playing Destiny. Not as much as I usually do, though, which is weird because I don't know. This season just didn't really grab me either. But I've also jumped back into Breath of the Wild a little bit to kind of reacquaint myself with the world for Tears of the Kingdom.
Me too, man.
Because, I didn't delete my save, though, Stephanie.
I wouldn't do that either, man.
No.
Wow.
Who would do such a thing? Who would do such a thing?
Oh, no.
Especially when you have all the shrines and all the Korok seeds. And 100% of the map, man.
Yikes.
So, but I've just been wandering the world, just shooting stuff and slicing stuff and collecting resources for no reason, to just do it. So, that's kind of everything I've been playing, though. Who wants to go next? Stephanie, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think mine will be pretty short because I realized that the date this podcast will post is literally one day before my embargo date for the game I've been primarily playing, so I can't talk about it. Other than the fact that, hint, again, it's a PAX game. So let's see. I can't talk about that. So the only thing I could talk about was Breath of the Wild. It wasn't really my intention, but when I showed my 7-year-old son the latest Tears of the Kingdom trailer, he just lost his shit. He was always a Zelda fan because of me, but that kind of pulled him back in. He must have watched that trailer like 12 times. And I told him, like, this is a sequel to a game that already has come out. I'm old and stubborn in a way that when I introduced Zelda to him, I insisted on showing him the older Zelda games, like Ocarina of Time. I'm like, you get used to those polygonal graphics. You get used to that, and you appreciate that. I'm not going to start you off with some modern stuff.
Do you see the look on my face? Do you see the look on my face?
Ron, not a word, okay? Not a word. This is my time.
Make him play Adventure.
My time. Hey! I played through and beat the original.
I have.
Yeah, you didn't start him off on that though.
No, I just couldn't do it.
I will. It's funny you mentioned this. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Good. I have a habit of doing this. I have a habit of doing this, talking when someone else is trying to talk.
Well, it's funny because so Justin has a 20-month-old, right? And one of the things that comes up occasionally is, well, how do you introduce them to video gaming? It's kind of imperative to appreciate the roots of where video gaming came from. Otherwise, you just become, what's the word? Like you don't appreciate video games as like an art form. You know what I mean? Like the industry itself is like still in an infancy, but like it's come so far in the past 40 years. It's like it kind of needs. I assume the younger generation, I don't know if needs is the word to use, but like it's imperative for the industry to grow in a specific way based off of appreciating like where it came from. So I do understand where you're coming from when it's like, appreciating like the polygonal, like, boxed knees of Ocarina of Time. And then you come to like Breath of the Wild and you're like, wow, this is very different. But I see the inspiration.
Yeah, I tried showing my son Minish Cap, but I think he already associates 2D with old. He goes, "That's the
Yeah.
old one." I'm like, "No, damn it, it's good." Oh, sorry, I slammed the table harder than I thought. Anyway, so
Passionate.
so long story short, I was like, "Do you want to watch Mama play Breath of the Wild?" Yeah. Well, guess what? I confused upload with download, and I uploaded my new save to the cloud and not downloaded my original Breath of the Wild because I was going to just show him
gosh.
Calamity Ganon. That's all I wanted to show him. Watch mommy fight the last boss. And then the game started from the beginning. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Oh man,
You can
That's
still
a
go fight
heartbreaker.
Ganon if you want.
Yeah,
With
with
the
a
stick.
tree
Certainly
branch.
could. You certainly could.
So
Yeah, man.
yeah,
That's rough.
I'm
Yeah.
not happy because that's probably one of the games I put the most time in. But I'm glad because you know what, it is kind of forcing me to kind of relearn everything. I completely forgot how the controls were, so I was just it's actually a good thing that I'm playing it before the Tears of the Kingdom, and my son is slowly taking over because once I introduced him to cooking, that's all he's wanted to do. He's just like, I'm gonna
Aw.
cook all your stuff. I'm like, all right, sure. So it's good mother-son bonding.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
cute. Zelda definitely did a good job with like simplifying the cooking system to the point where it's actually fun and not annoying,
Yeah.
like Skyrim.
He likes the musical jingle that goes with it too.
Yeah,
Good jingle though.
Yeah,
it's a good jingle.
It definitely is.
So that's kind of it. It's been a slow gaming week for me.
Yeah. So
Cool.
who wants to go next?
I volunteer one of our guests.
Yeah.
Justin
I'll go.
plays a ton of games.
I play
all the
way too
time.
many games. Yeah, I'm often playing at least 3 games at the same time.
Awesome.
So we're also into retro stuff. We own a retro company, so I'm usually playing something older. But typically, but recently I'm just playing a lot of newer stuff. And you mentioned Resident Evil 4 before, so my main focus for the last couple of days has been Resident Evil 4, getting the platinum trophy. Something you'll learn about me is I'm only I'm very fixated on getting trophies and that whole meta game. It's just like, I don't know what it is, but I just have like a weird OCD about it.
Scerbo, how many trophies are we at right now? Platinums? Are we looking at?
So that was my 119th platinum.
Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm in it bad, guys. I'm in it bad.
I used to be like that with achievements though on Xbox.
Yeah.
I would like
Dude,
the first 2 big games I got 1,000 achievements in were Gear. Oh, shut up, Siri. Siri just went off. Sorry, guys. The first 2 games I got all the achievements in were Assassin's Creed 2 and Gears of War 1. And then for probably the better part of a decade, I was obsessed until I got hooked on Destiny, and then I just kind of stopped caring.
Yeah.
Except for chasing those ones. And now Destiny has like the meta game inside of it of triumphs, they're called. And every season there's like a new set of triumphs that you can do. And then if you get all the triumphs, you can buy the literal seal. Like if you complete a triumph book, you get a digital seal, but then if you tie your account to the Bungie store, you can buy a physical version of that seal.
Oh, that's so cool.
This would be a sickness for me. I would be in it bad.
Wait. So what's the gamer score on Xbox right now?
Oh gosh, it's like I stopped really caring about it probably like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's at like 60,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was playing a lot of Resident Evil 4. I finished that up this afternoon, which I'm very happy about because tomorrow Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster comes out, and I will be going hard on all of those games. I'm like a really hardcore Final Fantasy fan, so nice. I am pretty thrilled about that. But that's pretty much all that's been taking up my time right now.
You're skipping Disney Speedstorm for Final Fantasy, huh?
Frankly, okay, I'll throw this out there. I saw some trailers for Speedstorm. It actually looks kind of cool. Now, wasn't on my radar at all, but it looks kind of cool. I don't know. Or wait, wait, no, hold on. I'm totally mistaking this. I'm thinking of the Lego one. It's like a Lego Burnout Paradise.
Oh, 2K Drive is
That's
Lego
the one. That game looks dope. I would play that game. I don't know what the Disney game you mentioned is
right now.
Yeah, get out of here, Corey, with your Disney whatever.
Okay, Disney Speedstorm is Disney's new quote unquote free to play kart racer, similar to Mario Kart, but each character has their own special move. But there's 3 different founders packs, which is $30, $50, and $70.
Jesus.
But I'm excited because season 1, the character in the season 1 racer pass or whatever they're calling their dumb battle pass thing is Figment.
Yes, the purple dragon.
Yes. And so I'm like, well, I don't know what to do now because, like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this game, but that made me like, well, I want to play as Figment for like a day and a half before I go back to something else. So now I don't know what to do.
Interesting. Well, I have not looked too far into this game, but I have a vague passing interest in racing games, so I'll keep my eye out for this one.
Also have a vague passing interest in specifically like kart games. Like I remember just from like Mario Kart, but then also like, do you remember a game called like, what was it called? Mod Racers?
I remember that. Mod Racing Nation.
Mod Nation. Yeah.
Mod Nation. That's right. And that like taught me that I actually enjoy kart games outside of Nintendo. So it's like, okay, definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility.
That was good. That one was worth it.
Yeah. But if I was to go next, I'll talk to you about the games that I have. So PAX definitely affected me. So our booth was definitely right next to Devolver Digital, which was screaming Cult of the Lamb. So I am definitely afflicted with advertising, and I am playing Cult of the Lamb again, mostly because I'm also interested in the DLC. Also advertising that's been hitting me has been Tears of the Kingdom, and I've been like soaking in all of the content that I could with that without trying to set my expectations too high and also ruin the release of the game for me. So I've been like jumping back into Breath of the Wild just for fun on my already saved file, similar to you, Corey. So shout out to that. I totally understand. The 2 games that are still on the docket that I own and haven't been able to jump into because I just haven't found the right time, and it's got to be like, I got to make sure that I'm not going to be inundated with like other exterior, motives or like interruptions, is Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. Between these 2 right now, I think Resident Evil 4 has a little bit more interest to me because I've already played Dead Space more recently than Resident Evil 4. So I would like to jump into RE4. Plus I played Callisto Protocol, which I also feel like has a similar flavor. So RE4 is probably the next one that I want to jump into on the side. But funny about it. I have a funny idea. Like Justin, you mentioned the Final Fantasy collection. I totally forgot that was coming out tomorrow. So that might be the thing that I want to be doing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, man. Anyway, that's me so far. Thanks.
LeRon, what are you up to?
All right.
LeRon,
so finally it's my
before you start, did you see that they are making a mobile Monster Hunter game?
Yes, I did.
I did not.
Yeah, it's basically Monster Hunter Go, except they're calling it Monster Hunter Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which that's gonna be interesting. Like I saw it, and at first I was like, because I only was on Pokemon Go for like a split second. Like I think I literally wasted like a week of my time playing that, and then I just was like, whatever. But the Monster Hunter mobile game, like it might be a new addiction for me. Only time will tell, because like I kind of like my Monster Hunter games a certain way, and it's usually how the main series goes. Like I love Monster Hunter Stories too. I feel like that's an anomaly because there's been other spin-off Monster Hunter games that just haven't done it for me. But this, it might get me.
So LeRon, what you're talking about is intentionality, slow-paced gameplay with a lot of prep time and a little bit of action makes a perfect Monster Hunter game. So
yes.
A mobile version, I can only assume that the mobile version will be less it would probably be easier preparation. The progression tree would be similar with the ideas of getting materials and then working on weapons and armor. And it's probably going to be a way more simplified version that is way more fun to play on short spurts of like 10 to 15 minutes at a time. And
yeah,
I can
probably.
definitely see that will be highly addictive for anybody who plays that game.
Yeah, oh God, here we go. Like that's another assumption I don't need, but whatever, because that's just
I know,
a time
right?
sink. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as what I've been playing, like I'm slowly getting myself back into video games. Like this is the week though, because Advance Wars is coming out this week, and that's probably where all my free time is going to go, because I'm going to be playing it in handheld mode, because I'm just going to be in the bed under the covers, just thing like right up to my the Switch, like right up to my face, and just doing it. But beyond that, I did power up my Switch to play to jump back into Front Mission First Remake for a little bit. I kind of lost steam with it, because after that game came out, a whole bunch of updates came out to Nintendo Switch Online and stuff. So I caught myself playing a whole bunch of Game Boy Advance games. Yay.
Yeah.
And then Metroid Prime Remaster came out, so I was like, oh yeah, like that other game that I was definitely foaming at the mouth about when they made the announcement of Mission First Remake, kind of went by the wayside, so like that. So I picked it up and played a few missions of it. But I'm still just going on my thing with DJ Max Respect V right now. It's been such a wonderful palate cleanser, Corey and Stephanie, you guys know I love music games and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just easy for me to jump in, even though that competitive part of me, when I miss a note, or I don't, or I get less than 90% hit ratio on the note, I'm like, oh no, start over. Over.
Dude, you don't have to tell me. I was playing Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, Final Bar Line for a while, and dude, I have it bad when it comes to that stuff. If even if I don't get a perfect on the first note, I'm restart instantly.
Yeah. It's
look at that. They're both incendiaries. What?
I know, go figure, right?
Yeah, it kind of gets on my nerves, but it's also because I'm kind of a perfectionist. So the song has a sound, right? So if you hit a note. If you hit a note and it's less than 60%, you can hear that the track kind of goes off for a second. And this is bothering me.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about right now.
But I love music games now, and it's funny how I will take time off from music games, and I mean long hiatuses, and then something will just be like, I just want to play this song real quick, and all of a sudden I'm stuck back on these music games and stuff like that. Man. So that's it. And I'm trying my best not to pull out $20 and download a new DLC pack. But this DLC pack is the DJ Max, Technica Q and Technica Q and this Technica Tune and Technica Q pack. And these were ones that Technica Tune came out on PlayStation Vita. And it was a must buy, like day one, digital store. As soon as it was available, I downloaded it because I love those games, and it was the only game of that type on the Vita, and so I wanted to play it. And then Technica Tune came, and then Technica Q came out. And that was on iOS and Android. So I was playing that shit to death on my damn tablet for forever until they shut down the servers 2 years later. I was so mad because I spent all that money buying all those song packs and stuff like that. So here I am with this moral dilemma right now, because I'm I really want all those hot ass songs, but I don't know if I want to spend $20 for them. Yeah, so
reasonable.
That's that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, they are definitely worth the $20. They're just for the nostalgia aspect for me and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's I have to make that commitment sometimes, because we have a hell of a year of games coming out.
Tell me about it.
June is going to be a hot mess, and June is my birthday month. So if anyone wants to start sending me Steam gift cards, hook a brother up,
dude. When's your birthday?
June 3rd.
Oh, we're okay. Mine's June 21st, so you're Gemini. What up? And yeah, we have the guy that I was also talking about before, Alex. His birthday is June 6th. We're all June babies.
Yeah.
Oh man, good times. Birthdays. Happy birthday. I don't know.
It's 2 months in advance.
Yeah, it's fine. What is time?
What is time?
But all right. So how are we on time? Do we want to hit one topic real quick, or I don't know what your guys' time situation is. So
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, depending on what the topic is, I'll tell you after I hear it.
all right. LeRon, we're going with your topic, LeRon. DPS versus support. Where do you lie?
So I'd be happy to jump on this one real quick. So I had a pretty extensive stint with Final Fantasy 14, and I'll be honest, I have zero interest in any class that's not putting up big numbers. So I am hard DPS all the time. All I want to see is big numbers go up. I want to do crazy moves. I want to see some numbers fly out of those bad guys. Like, that's what's activating me as like a gamer, So that's really, I'm like so like hard in that lane, which is a shame, because if you're trying to like queue for party matches or whatever, you're waiting a while because everybody's trying to DPS. But I've just got to be honest with myself, and that's what's going to provide the fun for me. So that's where I'm at. I just want to see the big numbers come up.
So that's so funny, because I understand that, but in both Final Fantasy 14 and let's say Guild Wars 2, which I played over 3,000 hours with, and like we had like a guild, or rather I had a guild with like 120 people, where they were very informative to the crit rate model too, very early on. But hilariously enough, I love the tank classes. I like being the person out in front, and I really love the idea of like handling the battlefield and then working with a team, and specifically thinking about the team's needs over my own. And that excites me specifically. DPS though, I will say, like, obviously I like to hit things and like have high numbers, but like more importantly, it's about the other people, which now I'm starting to think, like, is that the difference also between Ascendiary and Galabander? It's like my play style is more towards the multiplayer aspect, and your play style is more towards like the perfectionist high DPS. Like, that's the purpose, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? I don't know.
We'll have to see where LeRon lies on this.
I like being a strategist, but at the same time, like, I feel like the work is when I'm like up in their face and all that stuff. So I also kind of gravitate towards DPS myself, even though Stephanie's played Monster Army a few times, and she's seen where like I definitely like love the strategy aspect of it. Like, I'm one of those people. I'm immediately like. I think that's the other reason why Stephanie doesn't play Monster Hunter that much, because like the first few missions, like I was just barking orders, like do this, do that, get there, go there.
No, that's what saved my ass. Are you kidding me? Because not to spoilers, I was the one like just running up to the monster, going like yeah with my dual swords and getting my ass kicked, and wondering why I was dying all the time.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I'm kind of. I guess DPS support is the way is a better DPS / support. So like a hybrid of the two, because like I'm also one of those people. Yeah. I'm also one of those people where I try to watch everybody else, like like, oh yeah, hey, you're getting low, like you might want to heal and stuff like that, So it's just one of those things. So and sometimes like in Monster Hunter particularly, I will cart because like I am also trying to worry about the team, and that kind of is a problem, because like if you're carting, you're the one that's costing everybody the money. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I'm more DPS than support, even though like I do like when every now and then I'll change weapon classes and like, oh, I'm support, like I'm just gonna bounce around the field while everybody else does all the work.
Yes.
Or a shade of everything for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Stephanie?
It's kind of funny, not that I battle people in real life, but when I apply to real world, I'm definitely more of a support person. I like taking the back seat and kind of working behind the scenes or whatever. When it comes to video games, I'm probably and also done D&D. I do play some D&D with my friends.
Same.
And I'm always, I am the fighter. I am the melee person. I like to be up front and center, trying to beat the snot out of whatever I'm fighting with. I am more, coming in guns blazing, wanting to do a lot of damage. That's why I kind of joke about Monster Hunter. Like when I'm in my small group with LeRon or a friend, I'm with one of the swords or the dual blades, and I'm up front trying to, get as much damage as possible. So for me, definitely DPS.
Cool.
For me, it's definitely I definitely play a lot of support, especially in Destiny. I have complete builds for support classes. One of the names for my class is a bubble titan, and
A
so
bubble
yeah,
titan?
yeah, I can pop
Drop
this
the
huge
bubble.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
pop this huge bubble, and it gives my teammates overshield. It gives them a buff for weapon damage. If I wear a specific helmet called the Helmet Saint 14, it what do you call it? It confuses enemies. Like when they come into the bubble, they just like they do one of these things and kind of just stumble around, so you can take them out.
Mhm.
I also have a protective shield that I can lay out in front of people that will give them an overshield. It's like a barricade that they can hide behind, and then it gives them an overshield, and they can shoot behind it. Or if I wear a specific set of boots, they can shoot through it, so they can stay protected. So I also have a crowd control build that allows me to throw multiple grenades, and I have this high powered shotgun. Have a high resilience and high recovery build, so I can just kind of walk in and kind of take all the damage.
But there's something about supporting your homies. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That makes it feel makes it feel, I don't know, like you're in it together.
Yeah. Also, like I realize that I'm not the greatest FPS player ever, so I try to stay to my lane and be like, hey, I can add clear if you want to jump, all around the stage to kind of, do the mechanic of this dungeon or this raid, and I can pop a bubble in the middle so you guys can run through it and get that overshield, or
I also recognize my flaws, Corey, and that takes a lot of guts to admit to that, because in MMOs I freaking suck at like dodging all the time. So well, at least in Guild Wars 2. So like the biggest thing there is just like, okay, so I'm now actively trying to accommodate for my shortcomings, and then my team has to cover me,
Yeah.
Hopefully they can kill it fast.
There's a reason why I stopped. As I got older, I stopped playing Gears and Halo competitively and started, playing more team-based PvE content.
See, it's kind of funny. I think this is why I tend to gravitate towards single player stuff, because I want to believe that I'm good at video games, but I don't actually want to be put to the test. So as long as I'm getting my platinum trophies, I'm like, I did everything the developers wanted me to do. I'm good at video games still.
Yeah. And those Sony first party games, you can get the platinum trophy on story mode, and you never have to tell anybody.
Hey, I'm legit, man. Check out my trophy lists. We talked about Dead Space and Callisto Protocol. I got all of them. I'm like, man, I got this under control. I swear I'm good at video games.
Oh man,
that's funny.
That seems like a good place to wrap it up. Thank you guys really for coming on. This was awesome. Crit Rate seems like an exciting venture for you, and I think I speak for all of us saying like we're excited to see where it goes, and whatever we can do to help you guys, just let us know. We'll do what we can, and obviously Stephanie won't stop talking about it, so there's
yes, Stephanie's our new bestie. We love Stephanie.
Yeah. Sorry. Yep.
I was gonna say, but seriously, if there's anything that we can do to like help facilitate things, just let us know. This is awesome.
Well, we have a lot of updates coming, so we would love to talk to you all about it. Especially, I mean, like Boss Rush, it's like I definitely feel some type of kinship with you guys. So I would love to continue having these conversations, talking about what's in the pipeline, things that we're learning from, not just the data, but like what users are asking for, and then ultimately, like whatever you guys come back with, like if you guys can help us with the idea of like just telling people about what's going on, or helping us to like get more people interested and activated by the idea. That's all. That's what this lives on. It's like what people want.
Yeah, and definitely, thank you guys so much for your time. It was really a huge pleasure to be on here and get to chat with all you guys, and just kind of shoot the breeze about games, and talk about what's going on with the site and everything. yeah, if anyone wants to check us out, we're at critrate.io. You can come make your profile, reach out to us via our contact us form. Keep an eye out for all of our developments on new features and patches that we're bringing to the site. You can check us out on Twitter at critrate_gaming. We're all over the place, and yeah, real pleasure to be on here, and we really appreciate all the kind words and everything. It really means a lot, and we're excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, this was really fun, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, when some major updates come out, we'll have to have you on a spotlight.
Spotlight.
Episode.
I was thinking the same thing, Corey. It's perfect.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
heck yeah, we're down.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again, guys, for your time. I know it's sorry for being late again, but this was really exciting. Stephanie, LeRon, thank you guys too, as always, for hanging out, and thank you guys for listening or watching this episode of the Boss Rush Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Network, at Boss Rush Podcast. If you want the episodes a week early, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Media. For just $1, you get this episode early and other episodes. Check out Crit Rate. It's great. There'll be a link in the show notes to their Twitter and the website. So fill out your profile. Let us know. You can join our Discord and let us know where you fall.
Yes, tell us what house you belong in and why Carionaut is the best.
Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, no joke. No joke. Honestly, I think we're gonna create a Crit Rate Discord channel within our Discord, and then kind of separate it by houses and see. I want to see that experiment.
I will definitely join. I will definitely join if there's questions that I can answer right off of the Discord. Like, I hope when I have enough time to continue to answer these questions, but I would love to know what you guys are thinking. That would be great.
Actually, real quick, how'd you come up with the name Crit Rate? How was that?
Well, do you really want to know?
I can take that if you want to.
Yeah, go for it.
You know the real story or the good story?
I think I want the good story.
Okay, so the idea behind Crit Rate is the scores that you see on the website are a percentage. They're not like what you would see on Metacritic or otherwise. It's actually the likelihood with which this game would be appealing to you. And the higher that percentage goes, it reaches different thresholds, like the like it, love it, and leave it. And then if that game hits over 100% or at 100%, that's considered a critical hit. So your crit rate is what denotes how likely this game is to be a hit for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. The real story is one of our friends told us that name, and we were like, damn, that's a really good name.
I mean, if we were to be super honest, like we were hitting up, we were working with a bunch of agencies at the time for a few of our other businesses, right? And one of which we were like, hey guys, so like this is the idea, this is what we're trying to do. And this is after our friend was like, what about Crit Rate? And then Justin and I were just like thinking about it. It's like, man, it's a pretty good name, but like, let's think about it a little bit. And then we had a bunch of other people try to also enter in with their own ideas into the ring. And it was like, some of them were just like archetype or like whatever. It just didn't feel right. And something about Crit Rate just felt so gamified. Like it's something that anybody who knows, you know what I mean? It's like part of the inner sanctum of like the gaming circle, while also being a literal translation for what you're getting on the website. You know, if 10 people like LeRon are on the website and they say, LeRon, 7 of them say you should play this and 3 of them say you should pass, it's a 70% chance that LeRon's going to like this game. You know what I mean? It just makes sense.
Yeah. Here's your second exclusive. One of the names that we were debating beforehand was called Game Face. That didn't land.
Oh my God.
Crit Rate is a better name.
Yeah. That'd be a cool logo, though. You could have a D-pad as one eye and like the 4 face buttons.
I don't even want to think about it. It's too late.
We've come too far.
It's Crit Rate now. Don't even want to think about it.
Well, thanks again for coming on. Next week, you can check out Devolver Digital will be on the show next week, so make sure you tune in. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
So long.
The Boss Rush Podcast is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. This show is produced, written, and directed by me, Corey Dierig. My co-hosts are Stephanie Klimov, LeRon Dawkins, and Edward Barnell. You can find Stephanie at Klimov_author on Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the EXPcast. You can find LeRon at Exodus803 on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube, and also on Crossroads, the video game podcast. You can find Edward at ThatRetroCode on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting Nintendo Powblock. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCoreyInHD, and find me hosting Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and co-hosting Nintendo Powblock. Find the Boss Rush Podcast on all social media platforms at Boss Rush Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and the Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.